All right, this video is going to help you through challenge number 1, which is called drive, turn, and deposit. So for this challenge, we got to get at least 10 discs in a high or low goal. It could be a red high goal or a blue low or high goal. With the program, you're also going to learn how to make my blocks, which are these red or pinkish sets of blocks that you get to define. These are called functions. So we'll go through that. It'll make your code nice and clean. And you're going to turn in 3 things: a video of your robot running your code, all of your red or pink my blocks, and then the scratch code that you designed in this box right here. So let's get onto it. So what you're going to do, you're going to go to this website right here. It's called codv5.vex.com. There'll be a link on Classroom for it. And then it's going to look kind of like this when we get started, and we have to sort of log in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to File right here, and we're going to click on New Virtual Skills Blocks Project. Okay, so we're going to click there. When we do that, it won't look too much different, but it will have a new icon up here for virtual skills. So we're going to need to click on that. And then what it'll do is it'll have you log in. Now, my robotics teams have different team numbers and different keys. What I'm going to ask you to do is in here, we're going to type in 60441A. And for the skills key, we're going to type in 4TBBXJ. Okay, so once you do that, you'll be logged in. And you'll see the virtual field right here. Now, if we want to, we can load up our robot with discs. We can also move it anywhere we want on the field. And we'll get to more of that in a little bit. I think I'm going to start at letter B. And you can see, I mean, it won't do anything, but we can move around here. We can hit play and nothing will happen because we don't have any code yet. So one thing we should do right away is make sure we have a when started block over here. And when the program is started, we want to actually set how fast our robot will be driving. So in the drivetrain group, let's set the driving velocity to 100 and the turning velocity to 100. The other thing we want to do is to pick a spot for our robot to start. So we're going to come up to the virtual skills up here, open up our little arena, and let's choose 0 preloads. And then it doesn't really matter where we start, but I'm going to start at position C, and I'm going to hit confirm. And what you'll see is that our robot is actually starting pointing in a certain direction. So the way it works is that this way right here is going to be 0 degrees. This way is going to be 90 degrees. This way is 180. And then this way is 270. And then it would go 270, 271, 72, all the way up to 359. And instead of going to 360, it resets at 0 degrees. So that's just something to remember on which direction our robot is kind of heading. All right. So if we wanted our robot to turn in this direction to face maybe this disc right here, we would want to make sure that our heading, let's say turn to heading, we would say turn to 270. So if we run this, you can see that the robot turns and faces this direction. So we could do whatever degrees we want. We could do 90 degrees, and we can hit reset, and it turns to 90. We could do 180, hit reset, and it spins all the way around, and then you saw 270. If we wanted it to go to 359 degrees, that'd be pretty close to where we're initially heading. So I'm gonna just zoom in on this to show you. We could do it. You could barely see it turns just a little tiny bit. So you know, that's sort of how we can change which place it's heading. All right, so I have a little tool that we can use. If you're starting over here this is your heading. So 0 is always that way. You see the 0 right here? So what I'm going to do with my robot heading tool, you have one of these available to you. You can make a copy of it. And once you make a copy of it, you can use it wherever your robot is. So my robot starting position is pretty close to this one. It's on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the other compasses here, because this is the only one I worry about. If I start on this side, I only use these compasses. All right, so I'll show you how to use this a little more in a second. But if I'm starting over here and I want to face, let's say I want to face this direction. I'm starting right here and I want to face this direction. That would match up with 270. So we'll come back over to VEX Code. I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go back to the locations. I'm going to start at C. And I want to pick up this disk right here. So my first move is to turn the heading 270. Okay, so we can run the program. Let's look from above. Run it, and I turn, and I'm facing the right direction. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go pick up this little disk. Okay, so to do that, we're going to write some code to sort of drive over and get the disk. So before we actually write some code to drive forward, maybe we should save our project. So if you come up here, we're gonna name our file or our code. We'll name it, call it VEX Challenge. Oops. VEX Challenge number 1. Okay, we'll hit save, and then we want to make sure that this is saved to our device. So we'll actually click on this. And when you do this, you can save it to your Google Drive, all right, when we hit save to your device. So make sure you do that. Make sure it's saved to your Google Drive before you go any further. All right, great. Now that we're saved to our Google Drive, why don't we just go ahead and put in a block that says drive forward, because we should be turning and then driving forward towards the disk, and we'll kind of see what happens. Okay, so we know that we're at point C. We have no preloads. We're going to go ahead and run this. And there you go. You can see what's happening here. Unfortunately, our robot, whoa, holy cow. It just is going crazy here. We'll do it one more time so you can see what actually happens. So our robot is going to drive, and it's a little bit out of control. So you see it drives. It doesn't pick up the disk, and it flips over. Okay, so not so good, right? Okay, so so what do we need to do? We need to detect if a disk is there, so it can stop when it's right in front of a disk. So I recommend we say drive forward, and we do a wait until. So we'll say wait until, and then we got to sense if a disk is in front of us or not. So one way to do that is you can use the distance sensor. So right here in sensing, we can use this block right here that shows us how close something is right in front of the robot. So we'll pull this over. I recommend you use inches, and unfortunately this doesn't fit in here because it's the wrong shape. So we have to put a condition in. So we'll come over to operators and let's use a less than. So let's say the distance is less than, and we want to be right in front of it. We want to be 50 inches away. Let's put 1 inch away. And once it's 1 inches away, or until it's 1 inches away, it'll stay here in the code and it'll just drive forward. And then we can tell it to stop once the disk is right in front of it. So we're driving forward. We're going to drive forward until we're less than 1 inch away, and then we're going to stop driving. Let's see what happens. All right, so we'll click up here and we'll run it. So we're turning and we're waiting until, and then look, it waited until it was right in front of it, and then it stopped driving. So this is good. So what we need to do next is we need to get the disk to shoot through the intake systems and get like sucked up into the intake. So we're going to use the intake motor group motion. We're going to pull one of these over, and we could just say intake a disk and kind of let the disk kind of roll up the robot, and we can see what happens. So we're gonna hit confirm. Here you can see that what's happening here is the robot is sucking the disk up, and then it actually shoots it into the low goal, which is good news, right? Look, we just got this one, and it was shot all the way into the low goal. That's 1 out of 10. That's great. So that's good, but we also want to make sure that we can shoot multiple disks, and do it in a controlled fashion. So we're gonna have to maybe make the disk stop at the top before we shoot it, because we're gonna have to aim later on. So what I suggest we do is maybe we say, well, there's some sort of way that we pull the disk up to the very top of the robot and let it sit there, so that way we can have the ability to aim later. So here's what I'm going to propose. I'm going to come over to control, and we're going to say, go ahead and spin the intake and let the disk go up. And we're going to say, wait until the disk is at the top. And we can sense if the disk is at the top using the line tracker. So here we go. Here's our line tracker right here. So it turns out that the line tracker will have a value of a high value of around 80 or 85 when there's a disk nearby. And so if we use the top line tracker, we could come over here and we can say, well, as long as the value of the line tracker is up and it's above 80%, that means that there's a disk nearby. So remember, there's a line tracker, the bottom, the middle, and the top of the intake system. So what we can do is we can say, go ahead, robot, spin the intake system until we have a value of more than 80 at the top of the line tracker. Now, how do I know that it has a value of 80 at the very top? Well, we could come over here and we can look at we could check this box right here with the block that we pulled over, and we can look at this monitor. Okay, so the monitor can show us any of the sensors that we have. So we are using 2 sensors right now. We're using the distance sensor in front of the robot, and we're using this one, which shows if there's a disk in our robot, the top of our robot. So let's just run this one time so you can see these values change as the program runs. So let's try it one more time. Hit reset here, and we'll go like this so you kind of see it a little bit better. If I hit play, you can see these values are changing. And if you look, it says 84 as it goes up. If there's an 84, that means the disk is present. So I'll run it one more time so you can see it. And you can see the 84 is sort of changing as the thing goes up. So if there's a disk on top, this is going to say 84. So what we'll do, we're going to hide this again, is we're going to say, let's wait until there is a disk on top. Is it greater than 80? It's at 84. We know there's a disk up there. And then we can stop spinning the intake group. There we go. Now it'll stop at the very top. So let's try it one more time. And we'll watch the code run as we do this program. So we hit refresh, and we can see as this thing is running what happens. And you can see that it should stop at the very top. That's good. So it waited until the disk was at the top, and now we're ready to shoot. Now it looks like we're lined up and we could go ahead and shoot, but I want to do something first. So there's this thing called My Blocks. And what we have here is we have kind of like a set of code that we're going to reuse over and over again. So I'm going to come over to My Blocks, and we're going to click Make a Block. What I want to name this block is a custom block. This block is going to be called, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it Find a Disk and Take In, okay, to the top. All right, so it's kind of a big name. You could name it that if you want to. We hit OK, and now what you can see is it has this big old define thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my code kind of over here. And now I have a custom disk called let me actually fix this here. Find a disk. Or we'll just call it Find Disk and Take In to the top. So now what I can do is whenever I want to run this code over here, I can use this custom block. So what'll happen is it'll be the same exact thing as before. We're just kind of like defining what this code is, and we're just going to run it. Okay, so do it one more time. And you can see that it's going to run the code in here. All right, and it just brought it to the top. All right, so now we're going to do what we want to do is shoot it, right? We want to shoot it and then stop the intake system. Okay, so now that it's at the top, all we have to do is to turn on the intake motor group like this. Make sure we say it's intake, and it'll shoot, and it should shoot it into the logo. So we can watch. So it's turning, waiting till the disk, and then it'll shoot the disk. The issue is that this intake system is still running. We need to turn it off once it shoots a disk, because if we pick another disk up, we might not be facing in the right direction. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to make a function for shooting disks. So we come back over to my blocks, we say make a block, and we're going to make this the shoot the disk block. And we have to define what it is. So one thing we wanted to do is to start up the motor group so it starts shooting. It's going to shoot it off the top. But we wanted to stop shooting the moment the disk leaves. So we're going to use a fancy control thing block here called repeat until. What we'll do is we'll say, hey, keep on spinning the motor until there's no disk there anymore. All right, so this block was kind of like similar to what we'll use. This is saying like if there is a disk there, but we want a different one. We want one that says once there's no disk there anymore, which would mean that it's like less than 80, I believe 0 actually. The top one, the top line tracker, that's detecting the disk up top. Once it's less than 80, that means there's no disk there anymore. And what'll happen is it'll repeat saying spin, 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 spin until there's no disk. And this means that the value of this means that there's no disk there anymore. So now we can say stop the motor intake group like this. And if this should work, we'll bring this over here. We can say, all right, we'll shoot the disk once we get rid of it. So let's try it out. Let's see if we can make this work. So we hit play. It's running over here. It brings it to the top, and then it shoots it off, and then now the motor group stops. Beautiful. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to find another disk, right? It looks like we're right next to one. So maybe we could turn and find that disk and pick it up and shoot it. Or we could pick a different one. How about that one? Let's go for this disk right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of look from above, and you can see kind of where we are right now. And I want to, actually maybe this one. I'm going to turn and try to get that one. So I want to head in this direction right here. Okay, so to figure out what the right heading is, I'm going to go over to that heading tool that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to zoom in on this. Okay, so I am right about here on my heading tool, or on my on the map, right? And I want to actually head in this direction to get this next disk. Like I want to get over here. Okay, it looks like I need to be heading somewhere in between 60 and 75 degrees. It looks like it's probably around maybe like 65-ish. So let's do that. Let's turn to head about 65 degrees. So we'll hide this. I'll go to my driving blocks, and I want to turn to about 65 degrees. And then what do I want to do? I want to go forward and find a disk. Now I can go up here and I can say drive forward, wait until, and all that stuff. But didn't we do that already? Didn't we do that over here? So if that's where using functions is really nice. Like if I know I want to find a disk and take it to the top, I could just use this block now. So I'm going to go to my blocks, and I'm going to use this function again. So let's see if it works. Let's see if we can actually get this to work. So we'll hit retry and refresh, and here we go. So it's going to go ahead, pick up the first disk, bring it to the top, shoot it in the logo, and there we go. Look at that. We've just picked up, actually we picked up a couple disks. So we came over here, and we actually were able to get it because we headed in the right direction, and I ran this disk intake function right here. Okay, so now we need to shoot this into the low goal. So what do? Let's go back over to our tool we had. So we need to move our little compass over here because now our robot is over on this tile. And we have a few disks actually in the robot. If we look, looks like we have 2 disks in the robot. I thought there were 3 over here. We might even have a third one somewhere. At any rate, if you remember, it actually shoots out the back. So we are like almost facing in the right direction, but we want to sort of reverse the robot around so it shoots it in the right direction. Because watch what happened. Well, if we were to shoot them, they would go off out the side. So let's go over to the tool here. And right now, if the robot shot them, they would go in this direction out into the abyss. So let's think about this here. Right, like that. So we would love to shoot in this direction. Unfortunately, the shooter is not on this side of the robot. It's on the other side of the robot. So I'm going to change the color. So basically, we would need to blue. We need to go the opposite direction. We need to be facing this way, right? Because the shooter is on the back of the robot. So using that information, you can see we're somewhere in between 270 and like 285. So figure around like 280 or so. So that's the heading we need. We need to be facing in the 280 degree heading in order for our back end to be facing the low and high goals. So, all right, what did I say? 280. So let's go over to drivetrain. We'll go turn to heading. And we're going to say we want to go 280 degrees. And we'll hit refresh and we'll see what happens. All right, ready for this? Let's see if we get it. So we hit play. Okay, we're going to drive over here. We're shooting. Got a couple in the low goal. Okay, we have 3 discs in here now. And we've turned. Are we facing the right direction? I think we are. Let's actually look like this. Looks like we're headed straight towards the high and low goal. So we're good to go. We're lined up. So what we need to do next is we need to shoot, right? We have the shooting function over here. So we'll go to my blocks and we're going to say shoot disc. And actually there's several discs in there. Let's see if it shoots all of them at one time. All right, reset. Let's try this one more time. A lot of trial and error here with these programs. Okay. Shoot one in the low goal, pick them up. 1, let's see, looks like we shot one in the low goal again. So that's good. All right, so how do we figure this problem out? We have a few disks that are at the bottom of our intake system, and it stopped before we could go any further. So our shooting, I think we need to alter this a little bit. So one way you could possibly fix this is possibly using some wait time. So I'm going to come over to control and we can say maybe wait a second or 2. Probably takes about 2 seconds for a disk to get from the bottom to the top. So if we do this, let's see how it affects our run. So now you can see that we're going to be shooting. Once it gets to the top, it's waiting a little bit, but if we pick up more now, I think we'll be better off because now we can go ahead and we can shoot all of the disks that end up in our intake system. And we can run it again. And you can kind of see how sometimes this acts a little differently depending on what happens in the program. Like this time, it looks like it picked up 3 disks. and it shot all 3 out, which is great. Two other things to quickly show you here. If you wanted to, you could try to get it in the high goal. And to do that, we can change the speed of the motors. So like right now, the speed of the motors that are shooting the disc are only 50%. So if we kind of just set that maybe up here to 100%, it'll shoot them farther. So that can help you maybe shoot into the high goals if you want. The other thing to mention is that now that we have our disc finding and disc shooting functions, we can use those to go where and use them whenever we want. So for example, we're right here right now. If we wanted to travel perhaps back to this disc right here, we could kind of look at our compass. Oops, that didn't work. We could look at our compass and say, you know what, like let's turn and face this direction. Let's go in this way. And you can see that is about 255 is the reading. So we could come back over here and we could just guess like, let's go ahead and turn to heading, let's say 255, 255. And then we want to find the disc and pick it up and take it to the top. And then maybe shoot it, right? So I'll just run this one more time. The two things we changed were the speed of the disc shooting, and then we also added that we wanted to go to face 255 degrees and then pick up the disc that's in that location. So let's see if that works. So we'll run our routine again. We're going to go pick up one disc. Now remember, the disc is going faster. Looks like we got it in the basket that time, which is nice. Pick these up into the basket, and now we turn and we picked another one up. Ready to shoot. Well, almost ready to shoot. It looks like we're not quite lined up, right? So these are sort of the tricks here. The big thing is we want to make sure that we put our code in using these definitions. Could you imagine how long the code would be if we had to do this every single time? So make sure when you're done with all of your code, you go ahead and you copy your functions into this portion, right? We can make them a little smaller just so I could be able to read them. You'll have a couple of these, probably those two functions. And then your actual code will be, where is it? Your actual code will be over here. So that'll be your actual code we can copy and then put in down here, okay? So it'll be a little smaller, probably big enough that I can read it, all right? So, and then finally, the last thing you would do is put in a video link right here using Screencastify. So you'll actually video yourself, your robot doing its run using Screencastify. Oop, that didn't load. There we go. So you'll wait till you get here, and then we'll come up to Screencastify and we'll record ourselves and put that video recording into the assignment. That's it. Good luck, everybody.